Welcome aboard, fellow enthusiasts, as we embark on another incredible video. Welcome, everyone, to our latest video where we'll be exploring Anceps in languages with quantitative poetic meters such as ancient Greek, Latin, Arabic, Sanskrit, and classical Persian. An Anceps plural ancipitia or syllabae ancipites is a position in a metrical pattern which can be filled by either a long or a short syllable. In general, Anceps syllables in words, such as the first syllable of the Greek words the Greek god of war or bitter, which can be treated by poets as either long or short, can be distinguished from Anceps elements or positions in a metrical pattern, which are positions where either a long syllable or a short syllable can be used. Another distinction can be made between the ordinary Anceps positions at the beginning or middle of a line of verse and the phenomenon of brevis in longo, which is when a short syllable at the end of a line counts as long because of the pause which follows. The word Anceps comes from the Latin anceps, ancipitis, meaning two-headed, uncertain, unfixed. The usage of the word in a metrical context is, however, relatively modern, and is not found in ancient writers. As we venture forward, let's take a closer look at in ancient Greek and its impact on our understanding. Anceps elements can be found in a variety of meters in ancient Greek. Anceps elements in the middle or beginning of a line are characteristic of the iambic trimeter of Greek drama. A typical iambic trimeter has the following form: equal long, u equal short, and x equal anceps. XU XU XU. Except for the last element, an anceps or a longum is sometimes replaced by two short syllables. See resolution meter and prosody Greek iambic. In the trochaic meters, on the other hand, the anceps comes at the end of each metron, for example the trochaic tetrameter catalectic. UX UX UXU. Anceps elements are also found in the aeolic meters, such as the Sapphic meter, in which the first three lines are as follows, opening with a trochaic metron. UXUU. In other aeolic meters, it is possible for a line to begin with two anceps syllables in succession, for example in the glycanic meter. XXUU. In such meters it is not allowed for both ancipitia to be short, both in the aeolic meters and in the Euclidean. The usual form of the base is or u, with u occurring much less often. Martin West argues that this double anceps opening is a relic of an earlier period, also reflected in Sanskrit, when the beginning of a line of poetry had free scansion and only the end was fixed. West points out that in ancient Greek, an anceps is not found next to a short element. He argues that in most meters, every second or third element is compulsorily long, and can be considered a locus princeps principal position. Either before or after a princeps there must be a short element. Between each princeps and the next there can be either an anceps, a short, or two shorts. Some meters, such as the dactylic and anapostic meters, have no anceps syllables, although they make liberal use of biceps. In the upcoming section, we'll be shining a light on in Latin. In Latin, in the meters of Roman comedies such as those of Plautus, anceps syllables are even more common than in the Greek equivalents. In Plautus, the iambic scenarius, which is the equivalent of the Greek iambic trimeter, has this form: XXXXXU. The anceps elements, however, are not all equal, since the second and fourth anceps elements, which are always short in Greek verse, tend to be short more frequently than the other ancipites. These two are long in 60% of lines, the first and third in 80% of lines, and the fifth in 90% of lines. In the first two metrons, any of the long or anceps positions can be resolved into two short syllables, but this happens less frequently in anceps positions than in long ones. Other meters which may have anceps positions in Latin are the Bacchic and Cretic meters used in cantica songs in the plays of Plautus. For example, the Bacchic quaternarius is as follows: XXXX, and the Cretic as follows: XUXU. The hendecasyllable meter used by Catullus and Martial has the following form, beginning in the same way as a glycanic line see above: XXUUU. The first two syllables are usually long, but occasionally in catalyst u or u is found. However, in other meters of Latin poetry, Anceps syllables do not occur except for the usual possibility of brevis in longo at the end of the line. For example, in the dactylic hexameter, much use is made of biceps syllables, but there is no anceps and no resolution. Ux. There is also a pure form of iambic, used in catalyst 4, which also makes no use of anceps or resolution. Brace yourself for a captivating discussion on in Arabic as we explore its nuances and implications. Anceps elements are also common in classical Arabic poetry. Unlike Greek meters, in Arabic, an anceps can often be found next to a short element, as in the most common Arabic meter, the dal, of which the half verse has the following form: ux 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 uu. Another very common meter, the bas, has this form: xu xuu. The eighth element in the bas meter is also theoretically anceps, but in practice in more than 99% of lines it is always long. In the ridges meter, which is similar to the Greek iambic trimeter, the first two elements of each metron are anceps, although it is rare for both elements to be short. xxu xxu xxu. In some meters, such as the popular qual meter, biceps elements are used instead of anceps. As we progress through this video, let's shift our attention towards in Persian and uncover its hidden depths. In classical Persian poetry, apart from brevis in longo see below, anceps elements are for the most part found only at the beginning of a line. In most meters which begin with two short syllables, the first may be replaced by a longitude, thus the meter kaf, the most common meter used in Soddy's Golston, has the following form: xuu. In such verses, the anceps is long in about 80% of cases. The only other place in Persian meter where there is a choice between long and short is in the Rubaz meter used in Omar Khayyam's quatrains, which goes as follows: ux. The two ancipitia may be either u or u, but not two shorts or two longs. The first is slightly more common. In the next segment, we'll be exploring in Sanskrit and its implications for our subject matter. In Sanskrit, the classical language of ancient India, in the early period in some meters the first part of the line was very free. For example, epic poems such as the Mahabharata were mostly composed in a type of stanza known as the aloka, which developed from the Vedic Anuag meter. A aloka usually consists of two 16-syllable half verses of the following pattern: xxxxux. However, this does not quite give the full picture, since the second metron ux could sometimes be ux, ux, x or ux. These variations are known as victuas. Another restriction is that in the first and third metron, the pattern xux was not permitted. See aloka. As with Greek, Latin, and Arabic, the last element of every Sanskrit meter is anceps, that is, either long or brevis in longo. Another meter, the triab, which is commonly used in the Rigveda, the earliest form of Sanskrit, has for 11-syllable lines of the following pattern. The symbol represents a kasra or break between words. Thus the fifth element is an anceps, which if short must be preceded by a word break, if long it must be followed by one. xxux or xxux. In the High Classical period of Sanskrit literature, 5th to 12th century CE, a large number of meters were developed which for the most part had no anceps elements. For example, the Mandakront meter, made popular by Tidza in his poem Megata, has the following form without variation: a third type of Indian meter, commonly used in Prakrit literature, but also sometimes in Sanskrit, is typified by the Re meter. In meters of this type, lines of varying length are made up of feet which can be of any combination of long and short syllables, such as uu, or uu, that adds up to the equivalent of 4 short syllables. As we enter this new phase, let's analyze anceps versus brevis in longo from different angles and evaluate its significance. The anceps is distinct from brevis in longo, which refers to the phenomenon whereby a normally short syllable counts as long when used at the end of a line. The possibility of brevis in longo is found universally across all meters, while the anceps is found only in particular verse forms. Also, a brevis in longo is always felt to be long, while the anceps may be short or long freely. I appreciate your time and I'm grateful for every like, comment, and share.